What's up, my fellow nerds? I'm Ann Campea, and this is Team Amazian's Speak Nerdy to Me for the week of April 28th, I believe. Joining me is my partner in crime, Miss Kaori Take.
Hey guys, it is Nerd Day today.
Yeah.
Nerd Day. Well, it's always Nerd Day actually, but it's Free Comic Book Day, so
Yes.
we're very excited. We just got some comics. We're going to talk about that. Lots more.
Lots more. We actually had a really difficult time trying to figure out what we're talking about this week because there was just so much news out there this week. So we're really excited to bring you the show. Let's start with what Kaori just said. Free Comic Book Day is today. If you haven't went out to your local comic book shop, please do. There's about 60 comics that are free today. And so if you're new to comics, this is the perfect way to get started because there is every genre of comic you could think of for free. And as well as some that you might be familiar with. So for those of you that are comic book fans, there's some really cool editions. We'll talk about that right now. So this is us actually at Meltdown Comics. This is Team Amazian's first free comic book day. As you can see, Wakame joined us as well. And it was actually really chill.
Yeah.
I was expecting chaos, and maybe it's because we had perfect timing. And we actually walked right in and were able to pick up all of the free comics that our hearts desired. I mean, we all got different ones, but it was really easy for us. What I'm hearing now, and Corey and I drove by one of the more local comic book shops for us, House of Secrets, after coming from Meltdown here in Los Angeles. And that one actually had a line wrapped around the building.
And it was tinier.
And it was a smaller shop. And the thing with Free Comic Book Day is that these comic books are actually free to us, but the beautiful thing is that it's the comic book shop that's investing in these comics at a discounted price so that we can come and pick it up for free. So thank you to all of those businesses that are doing that today. That's really, really cool. A great way to promote a really fun event. I mean, in front of House of Secrets, they had Iron Man, they had people dressed up as Batman, they had a lot of events going on that were going along with it. We saw John Schnepp promoting his from AMC Movie Talk, promoting his movie at Meltdown Comics. So there's a lot of other things that they wrapped up into this event in addition to getting the free comics.
Absolutely. And if you are not even a comic fan, there's still something there for you. I myself am kind of a noob when it comes to comic books. Anne is the expert. I've gotten into comic books here and there, but the only one that I've really been into as a kid growing up were a couple like Sailor Moon and Archie Comics. But this is a great place to really get some free comics and see what... There's comic books for everybody. Like... all kinds of types. And I'm just going to show some of the, because the place we went to, Meltdown, you got to choose 3 comics from the display as well as Hellboy. So we got Hellboy.
Yep.
And I'll tell you, the 3 comics I chose from the pack were totally the kind of comic books I would get. I wish I could have picked one more, but Archie, everyone, if you guys have been following, you guys know that I've been following Archie. A little stereotypical Hello Kitty. I was like, oh yeah, must get Hello Kitty.
Hey,
right.
I almost grabbed the Hello Kitty, okay? And then we decided, okay, let's get some different ones so then we can share, which is another beautiful thing about comics.
And Friends. And then, of course, Mega Man X.
Very cool.
Oh, and if you flip it over, it becomes Sonic.
So you actually got 4.
I got 4.
Why? I didn't even realize that. So mine, of course, you guys are probably not surprised. Guardians, this is the only one I actually was looking forward to picking up. And I got it. And it has Star-Lord himself, and it's Star-Lord from the upcoming movie. So very cool. Can't wait to read that. Transformers versus G.I. Joe. I have a little bit of an issue that the back of this is pink. I was wondering why. I don't know why. For those of you that know me, pink is not my favorite color. And then Courtney Crumrin. I've never heard of this. Again, beauty of Free Comic Book Day is that you could pick up something you never even heard of. I was completely attracted to the animation of this character, so that was the only reason I picked it up. And
but
so
flip it over.
You never know. I mean, I could find something that I fall in love with. So
she has Princess Ugg on the other side.
Yeah.
So you have two comics, right? Am I tripping?
Oh no, that's just a preview of what this company has to offer.
Darn
So this
it.
is another character that they do a comic for.
Okay.
But still, really cool. I mean, it looks almost like anime-ish, almost.
It looks like Boo
So
from here.
I'm excited to read that one. Hopefully it's good. But again, it's free and it exposes like a ton of people that maybe typically don't read comics.
Yeah.
And now you have comics.
Now I have comics, and now I'm gonna learn what Hello Kitty looks like in a comic book. That's pretty fucking awesome. Excuse my French. Oh my gosh.
Wow, that's the first time you cuss.
Well, we cuss a lot more behind the scenes.
Apparently people like when we say curse words.
Yeah. So comment if you want us to cuss and be the real us. No, I'm just kidding. We're always the real us, but. Yeah,
We got the worst mouths.
comic book day, free comic
Do
book
it, you
day
guys.
is pretty awesome. And, you know, again, I'm not a huge comic book fan, and I've been learning a lot more hanging out with this girl here.
Hell yeah.
And I was in there and I was thinking, man, I want to pick up some of these comic books now. There was a Grimm comic book that I wanted to pick up. There are some Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle comic books that I wanted to pick up. But I've settled on reading these first, digesting these first. And so, highly recommend it. Even if you don't think you like it, even if you have a friend that you don't think will like it, you probably will find something in there. It was fun.
Yeah, awesome way. Thank you to you for joining me for the free comic book day.
Oh, absolutely.
First time.
All the time, man.
Our
Down.
cherries are popped. Moving on, there is a lot of movie news this week. And so we wanted to condense it into the two that we think everybody's talking about. And considering that we're shooting this, it's May 2nd today?
It's May 3rd today.
May 3rd. I don't even know what day it is. It's May 3rd. This movie news came out early this week. So, of course, we want to start with the Star Wars movie news regarding the Star Wars 7 casting.
And the only reason why I know it's May 3rd is because tomorrow is May the 4th be with you day.
May the 4th
Exactly.
be with you. Exactly. And for those of you who can't see, I'm rocking all my Star Wars stuff this weekend. I got my Stormtrooper dress on. Tomorrow I'll have another cool tee.
She's looking hot.
It's Star Wars everything. And as you can imagine, John is very happy about this weekend. So that was a really cool picture. But let's talk about the casting a little bit.
Okay.
Because as Corey mentioned, tomorrow is May the 4th. A lot of us were speculating that tomorrow would have been the day that they released all of the Star Wars movie news. But they released this, I believe, on April 29th. Mm-hmm. Nothing significant about the day. Still very excited that they released finally the casting news. But a little bit surprised that they didn't go with the whole May the 4th thing. Now I'm hearing that perhaps there is more news to come and this is just the beginning. Corey, when you looked at the casting, was there anyone that stood out to you? Was there anything that was surprising to you?
Obviously,
What do you think?
What stood out to me was just the OG cast coming in for episode 7, right?
Yep.
You got, all three of them, the major three, Carrie Fisher,
Harrison Ford,
Mark Hamill.
Yep.
And I'm just so amped about seeing these three.
Yep, me too.
These three are the ones I'm like, wow, how are they gonna put them into this movie?
Oh,
Like,
they
they're-
have to be. I couldn't imagine it without them in it.
I'm so glad that they're coming back.
Yes, me too.
I'm so glad that it's an episode 7 and not like an episode 0 before 1, 2, or 3.
We want to forget those. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. We want to forget those. Actually, my brother doesn't want to forget those. He's like the only one I know that's a fan of those prequels.
Well, her brother likes trash stuff, but so do I, so it's okay. All good.
But let me just quickly read off the actors that they cast. I mean, a lot of them know names too, which actually I think is great. Actors like John Boyega, Daisy Ridley, Adam Driver, Oscar Isaac, who I'm familiar with, Andy Serkis. I think if you were to ask me whose name stood out to me, I would say Andy Serkis, of course. And I might pronounce this wrong, but Domhnall Gleeson? Maybe that's wrong. And then Max von Sydow.
I agree with you. That's another thing that I really like, that these are relatively unknown actors. They could have probably casted really high-end A-listers, quote-unquote, who would have been so down for Star Wars, but they picked these people. And I think that really helps in aiding in the obscurity of Star Wars 7. It's going to be just so good.
Yes. And let's not forget the other news that we heard this week for Star Wars is that everything is going to be dismissed in the Star Wars canon. Meaning, if there was a game that came out, if there was, I don't know, a book that came, all the Star Wars books, for those of you that read the Star Wars books, those, this week, I believe, they announced that any of those stories are not relevant to what the Star Wars canon is. So the only thing that can connect to episode 7 and forward is the Clone Wars cartoon that's currently out. So anything that's done in that cartoon is a part of the real Star Wars story. Everything else is fan fiction. Everything else is just fun to have Star Wars information or Star Wars stories, but nothing is relevant to the actual real story. So I thought that was very interesting too, because for this upcoming episode 7, a lot of people were speculating that it might be based on some of the books. And knowing now that those books are not a part of the Star Wars canon, shakes things up. We don't know what the script is going to be about. There's only speculation. There's still speculation that Adam Driver's character is going to be the villain of the film, but I don't even know that anymore, considering all the Star Wars news that came out this week. Let's not forget, like Corey said, Harrison Ford, Carrie Fisher, Mark Hamill, but then Anthony Daniels is coming back. Peter Mayhew's coming back. Again, I know he's just wearing the big Chewbacca costume, but still, you know, these are the people that make Star Wars, and so we're excited that these people are coming back.
And it just makes it feel a lot more serious than the other 3, 1, 2, and 3. Not to be a dick, but the fact that these guys are on board and want to be a part of this particular one, that says a lot.
Well, look, here's the thing. If I'm Mark Hamill and they're like, "Hey, Mark, we're doing episode 7, and we want you to be in it, even if it's for like 2 minutes," I would be totally on board with that, because Mark Hamill's career is built on the Star Wars franchise. So why would he not want to take that? If he didn't, I would be shocked, and the fans would be really disappointed in that type of behavior for him to kind of act like a big star, too good to be in the movie that made his career.
I just want to give a shout out to Mark Hamill, because he did some awesome badass voiceover for the Arkham City video games as the Joker. Nice. He was really good in those, so
that's really cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So we're both looking forward to Star Wars 7.
Yes. And I'm telling you that I need to watch 4, 5, 6, and I will probably watch 1, 2, 3 before this happens, with my dog Wakame and without John and Anna Campea.
You might have to drug John, and then maybe he will watch the first.
I know. Who will Skype with me so I can watch this with someone via Skype?
Hey, I mean, I really was obsessed with Anakin, but that's about it from those first few movies. But, you know, you got to watch them. I guess you have to.
You do have to watch them. If you're a Star Wars fan, you have seen them. So.
Yeah. So we will probably do that. Look out for a Team Amazing Star Wars marathon video epic, whatever.
Twitter frenzy, whatever.
So let's move on, actually, because in addition to the Star Wars movie news, we heard confirmation about the upcoming Justice League movie. So everyone was saying, okay, Justice League movie, they're doing the Batman versus Superman, sure. Are they going that way? And it was confirmed this week that they actually are going in that direction. I mean, a lot of people are saying, why is the upcoming Batman Superman becoming overcrowded? But perhaps that's the reason why they're introducing characters like Wonder Woman, maybe Cyborg.
But that's Justice League, girl.
Yeah, they got to build it up. They got to get there. So they announced this week that is going to indeed happen. Kaori, your thoughts on the Justice League movie?
I'm super excited about the idea of a Justice League movie, a live action movie of this. We've seen snippets of Justice League in an animated version, and the rendition of it being live action is something that gets me really, really amped. I'm curious to see the full on casting of everyone, which characters are going to be in this movie. We don't have all of them yet right away, right?
No, and that news will trickle in, and I'm sure they will hold on to some of that news for Comic-Con and for some of those events where they can just do the big bang of these are all the Justice League members or whatever they can do to get all of the media hyped about this.
And look, as much as you may or may not be happy about a Justice League movie, I'm pretty sure you are. You're probably going to see it. I mean, it just sounds badass. And what do you think?
This is DC's way to try to go up against the monstrous films, the Avengers films. This is going to compete against, Marvel's brilliant plan to release Avengers films and release all these standalone films for people like, Thor. For example, Captain America did really well. This is their direction. This is their way to do what Marvel is doing right now.
Also there is news and rumors that DC is in the works of creating 9 standalone DC movies. So they are ready. They are ready to fight Marvel. And here's the thing. I love Marvel movies. They're fun. But every time a DC movie comes out, the expectations are whew. And I don't know if it's because the time in between one DC movie to the next, but DC's got like the best characters.
Yeah,
they do.
They have some of the more popular characters. I think thanks to the Avengers, thanks to Marvel for their brilliant people behind the scenes that have thought of this master plan to release the movies in the way they're doing. We're going to know the average moviegoer is going to know about Ant-Man. I mean, who knows about Ant-Man? I read comics and I don't know that much about Ant-Man. So characters that you won't necessarily have heard about if you don't read comics, the average customer, the average movie watcher is going to know about. Guardians of the Galaxy is a perfect example for that. So Marvel is on the right track for that. But when Kaori's right, when it comes to those that are the most well-known, I would have to say that still falls with Superman, that still falls with Batman, that still is Wonder Woman. And so they know they have the characters there. They just have to do it right.
Exactly. That's well said, well put. And, I am, again, I keep saying that I'm more of a noob when it comes to comic book lore. So all my following comes from, most of my following comes from DC movies or TV shows like Arrow or, Marvel movies and stuff like that. And even though there are a lot of more entertaining Marvel movies because of how many more there are, DC movies are more impactful for some strange reason.
Yeah. I mean, I know you've said that to me time and time again. I think you get the kind of lighthearted, funny, yet at times serious tone with the Avengers, with the Marvel films. But then when you get to something like The Dark Knight, a little more darker. Even Man of Steel, a little more dark. What do you think about Zack Snyder directing this upcoming Justice League movie? Do you like it?
I mean, it's not Christopher Nolan, but I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I think Christopher Nolan, the beauty of what he did is he painted the picture and he let it dry, if that makes sense. Like, he made his masterpiece and he hung it on the wall. Good. And he's good with that because it's a masterpiece. It's a beautiful thing that he did with The Dark Knight.
Here's the thing.
And he didn't have to continue on because he knows he has other projects. Christopher Nolan is just busy. And so Zack Snyder, what he did with Man of Steel, I'm happy with Man of Steel. A lot of you perhaps didn't love Man of Steel, but I think he started something really well with Man of Steel. And I think he can bring that on with Justice League.
At least it wasn't Michael Bay.
We don't have TMNT news this week, but yeah.
I mean, I'm just imagining Michael Bay having a variation of his own superheroes.
God, because then, Wonder Woman is a little more booby. And I mean, even though she is super booby in the comic books, but, wearing these high heels and whatever else that crap she doesn't need to be wearing.
She's also buff.
Yeah. But in a Michael Bay one.
Yeah.
We could do our own video about who we would think Michael Bay would cast as Wonder Woman if he was in charge of this film.
Michael Bay Justice League.
Megan Fox is Wonder Woman, I'm sure. Okay, so let's move on to more movie news. We actually had the opportunity of seeing a movie we've been talking about for quite some time now, The Other Woman. That was released, I believe, last weekend, and it knocked Captain America out of the #1 spot in the box office. Considering Captain America was there for 4 weeks, fine. But the Other Woman comes out. Kaori and I were very excited to see it, and we wanted just to briefly give our thoughts on the film. Kaori, did you want to start with that?
Leslie Mann stole the show. I thought every single actress portrayed their character really well. Cameron Diaz did a good job. Kate Upton did a good job. I think it was her second role. She did the Three Stooges. Granted, it's funny because I think it was Gawker that had like a partial list of all the lines she had to say, which isn't much. She basically said three word sentences and things like that. But,
that's funny.
You know, she did her job well, and I was happy with that. And I really enjoyed the movie. I thought it was funny. It was exactly what I expected. I didn't expect it to be, you know, an Academy Award nominated worthy movie, but I laughed my socks off. And I also thought that Jamie Lannister, yes, his name is Jamie Lannister in my head, stole the show too as well.
Yeah, he was the perfect leading man in that role.
He was like Jamie Lannister. He was a dick.
He was Jamie Lannister without the armor on, right? Yeah. With his haircut and him wearing suits. But I'm with Corey in this. You typically don't like these romantic rom-coms, whatever you would call it. I am a big fan of this type of genre, so I was excited to see it. Cameron Diaz did amazing. Like she said, Leslie Mann can lead any movie, any comedy that she wants to lead. She can do it. I totally believe in her. And even Kate Upton, who we speculated, how is she going to do in this film? She worked for the role that she was cast in. It was perfect.
Yeah.
Lots of laughs. And you'd be surprised that the audience in our theater was actually split. There was probably 50-50 on the men and women in that theater. And I'm honestly, theater was almost packed, probably 80-90% capacity. And we laughed together, which was a beautiful experience because it's really cool to be in a theater where you all are kind of jiving on the same kind of jokes, the same dialogue. You're all kind of feeling the emotions of what the movie was supposed to do, which is make you feel something, right?
That's true. Like when I think about it, you know, when you watch a movie, part of the movie experience is your audience members. And if you are with a morbid, sordid audience group, you don't enjoy the movie as much as a hyped up audience group. So.
Right. And it's happened many a times with John and I where we'll be at a screening where the movie is not great, maybe just average, but the audience was amazing.
Yeah.
And so we'll walk out of there thinking this movie is amazing. And then we'll start to see the reviews and see that maybe it wasn't as great as we thought. But again, the audience can make the experience. I'm really happy with this one. I'm actually looking forward to seeing it again. I've been telling John every day.
You're let's go see it again?
I want John Campea to see it.
See, I think it's a great movie, but I wouldn't see it again.
I will see it again because I'm seeing it with someone who hasn't seen it.
Okay.
And so I'm very curious as to how John will like or maybe dislike this movie. That's really why I want to take him to see it. I have a feeling he might like it, but who knows? But like Kaori said, everyone did well. The story was your typical rom-com story. Obviously, it's not going to win Academy Award, but it will make you laugh. And they hit on things that, for those of you who have been in maybe not similar situations, but I'm sure everyone has a life experience that would relate to one or more of the storylines that were happening in the film.
Oh, yeah. There was
in terms of relationships.
There was one line that Leslie Mann and Kate Upton were having that conversation.
Yeah.
And Kate Upton was telling her that, yeah, your husband told me that you cheated on me. And Leslie Mann was like, what? That's bullshit. Whatever. Like,
yeah.
And I thought, 'cause my ex is a fucking liar too. That's all I'm gonna say.
All right, let's go back to my face. Yes, that will bring that type of emotion. See it. I think it's a C. I think see it once. I was going to say see it in a matinee, but see it once.
See it
Take
once.
some friends. It's funny.
And Nicki Minaj was in there. I think that was her debut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever.
It could have been any woman with that kind of flair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really could have. But her ass.
Can I say fake?
Her ass. All right. Let's move on to the next topic. There are a ton of movies coming out this month. And so we had to split them up actually, because when we were trying to run the show notes with each other, I had like 20 million. I'm just going to make a number up. 20 million movies on this list that are coming out just this month. And we're already in the first weekend of May, and there are still a ton more movies to come out. So we wanted to just quickly touch on the fact that there are so many upcoming May movie releases. We'll start with the first half of May and talk about The Amazing Spider-Man 2, which came out this weekend. Neighbors, which is coming out May 9th, which we have talked about forever now. Chef, which is also coming out on May 9th, which is a little bit more of an indie, I don't know if it's an indie film, but their marketing isn't just grand. They, I believe, premiered it at South by Southwest, so a little more of an indie film. Godzilla, which is coming out May 16th. So there's a lot of movies we have to spend our money on this week.
Let's do this.
Amazing Spider-Man, have you seen it?
I have not seen Amazing Spider-Man. Isn't that crazy that I have not seen Amazing Spider-Man?
No, not necessarily.
1 or 2. Yeah, I haven't seen those.
I'll make you at least watch the first one.
But I still need to see Thor 2. So. Not Thor, period, but Thor number 2, The Dark World. So I got a couple movies that I need to Skype with some of our viewers and watch with.
Yeah. Do that. Team Amazing watches movies with you guys.
Yes.
We'll figure out how to set that up.
Yeah.
I actually got the chance to see Amazing Spider-Man 2. Not as good as the first one, without giving Kaori any spoilers, because I will make her watch it at some point. The reason I was entertained by the film, I would say I mostly agree with the critic review. The reason why I love the film is I love Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man. So I prefer him over Tobey Maguire's version of Spider-Man. So for that reason, again, I was entertained by the film. I think that I feel like they were trying to do too much. And that was kind of what people were speculating even before the film came out, is that they have Electro in it, they have Harry Osborn in it. How are they going to manage these two villains? And so, and then for a while we thought Shailene Woodley would be in it to portray, and why am I losing her name right now? Mary Jane. But they decided not to put that character in there for now, because they thought it would be really awkward if they still had Emma Stone as Gwen Stacy, and introducing his new love, which is Peter Parker's love of all time, while Gwen is still alive. So that being said,
So she's still alive throughout the movie? Is that what you're implying?
Of course.
That she doesn't die at the end of the movie is what you implied? Okay.
Course.
All right.
So if you're going to see it, just know that there's a lot of leaps that they make in the storyline. There's a lot of pacing issues. They spend quite some time fleshing out certain character development, and then not spending a lot of time fleshing out some other characters, which I didn't understand why they went that way. I know that somewhere towards the mid or latter end of filming Amazing Spider-Man, that they decided they were going to do the Sinister Six. So I don't know how much that made an impact on how they ended up with this final product, because they spent some time setting up for the next film. All of that to say, it was entertaining to me because I like Andrew Garfield, I like Emma Stone, I like their chemistry, I love Sally Field. So for those three actors, and Dane DeHaan, I still like him. I didn't love him in this film, but I do love that actor as well. For the actors they have in it, I would say see it. Otherwise, I don't know. You'd have to read the critic ratings and make that decision for yourself.
Judge for yourself.
Yeah.
I will still go eventually see this movie once I get through the first one.
Of course. I mean, if you're a fan of Spider-Man, you got to see it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it was the second one where Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man goes emo. Oh God, I hated that one.
But you still watch it.
I still watched it.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Probably watched it at midnight when it
still
first
watch
came
the
out.
third one after.
But what do you think about, obviously we know
There was a
our
third
thoughts
one,
on
right?
Neighbors. Yeah, there was a third
Okay.
one.
It's not
Third
big
one
number.
picked it up a lot better than the second one.
Yeah.
But, we
That's
know
right.
Neighbors is coming out May 9th. So you don't need to hear our thoughts on that.
We'll get to
because
that.
We always talk about Zach. Chef, like you said, I think you said you're looking forward to it. I am too.
Mm-hmm.
John Favreau's project.
Mm-hmm.
And Godzilla, May 16th.
Godzilla. And
What do
I
you
wanted
think?
to mention, it's so funny because Japanese fans are saying, why is American Godzilla a fat ass, basically? Boom. And I was like, oh, he does go and eat McDonald's stores and shit.
He has no neck.
He has no neck. He's a fatty. It's so cute.
It is kind of cute. Maybe he's just buff. He's big
No,
boned.
that's not like buff. He's
buff.
There's no like mountaintops on Godzilla, it's just a straight line.
Maybe the American thinking is that you got to be really big to be strong and scary, whereas in Japan you're like, screw being big and whatever, you got to be agile and you got to be muscular and lean or whatever to move. I don't know, just making shit up.
I'm thinking that's probably what it's like, and it's funny because the Japanese culture is a lot about things are cute. So even things that aren't supposed to be cute here are actually really cute there. That's how it's defined. That's why Japanese culture, when you look at really Japanese anime things, everything's super cute and cheesy and all that stuff. So that being said, American Godzilla is chubby wubby cute.
All right. That,
Yeah,
I think you captured it.
he is cute.
I was going to say more. I think he's still cute. But let's move on from the big screen to the small screen and talk a little bit about TV.
Okay.
Because Game of Thrones, Oathkeeper. And we are just a few hours away from the next Game of Thrones episode, of course.
Yes, and I can't wait for the next one. They always leave you on a cliffhanger. You saw the night walkers. I forget what they're called. I think they're the night walkers. At the end, making a night walker baby.
I'm sorry, that baby reminded me of Loki.
Crazy scary.
What the heck's going on with that baby? Tell me. You know everything.
I will say nothing yet because I want our viewers to enjoy Game of Thrones TV rendition. Jaime Lannister saying goodbye to Brynn. Kind of sad. I felt really sad.
I loved that scene so much.
She's in love with him.
I know.
She's in love with him, and he gives her the sword, and they call it Oathkeeper. Mm-hmm. So she can keep her oath to save the Stark family.
Yeah.
And you are starting to see that Jaime Lannister turned a new leaf.
Yeah.
He's becoming good. He cannot fathom half of the things that he used to do. Because once he's without his Kingslayer hand, without that ability, without that hand that really defined him, he's no longer the Kingslayer. Now he wants to do good. And you're slowly going to see that. And that's why you love Jaime Lannister. You are going to love Jaime Lannister if you haven't loved him already. I promise you will start loving him.
So are we forgetting that he kind of consensually raped, if that makes sense, his sister?
And did you feel bad for Cersei when that happened?
That's a loaded question.
Last
week I didn't want to even talk about that because it's such an odd subject to me. So I'm going to stay mute about that. But what I will say, and Corey will stare at the camera and blink twice if I'm right, is will something happen to Brynn to really get Jaime to... Because he's on the fence right now, right?
Do you think he loves her?
He's good, bad. He's good, bad. I think he knows. He's not stupid. I mean, the way they shot that scene, you could tell the way they looked at each other that he could sense that there's more feelings than just a friendship there. But I don't know if it's a camaraderie for him or what. But will something happen to her that will make Jaime kind of finally solidify himself as a good person?
I will not answer that, and you just need to stay tuned. And you're probably not going to see that for the next couple seasons. It's not going to be this season. unless they pick up the pace. There's just so many things going on. Like, you got the Lannisters to deal with. You got, Tywin, Tyrion. You got Cersei, and then you've got
I don't even think we saw Arya this last episode. Did we?
No, it's full rotation, and you've got
a ton of characters.
You got Sansa, who's gonna up her game as well. She's gonna become very important. Sansa's mom's side of the family is gonna become pivotal. It's a lot of shit going on.
A lot of shit.
And also, Jon Snow, there was a twist that was kind of outrageous for a lot of the the readers who read the books, is that Jon Snow knows that Bran is alive, because in the books, that's not really defined. Like, in the books, Sam, he finds out that, Bran is alive, but he doesn't tell that to Jon Snow, because he promised them that he wouldn't tell him. But he says it in passing in the previous episode.
Yeah.
So that was like, what? He knows, and blah, blah, blah. So we'll see how that pans out. It's going to be interesting.
We are going to try to do a mid-season Game of Thrones after show.
You know why? Because I'm going to tie John Campea to one of these chairs. Have Anne sit on his lap, and we will do it.
All right. So, yes, we love the show. We will do a Game of Thrones mid-season recap. And so let's move on to our favorite. You know what? Before we do, Sailor Moon.
Yes! Okay,
Sailor Moon is back in the TV news.
Obviously, if you were a middle school, that's the word. Middle school girl, and you were watching morning cartoons, you know all about Sailor Moon. I used to watch Sailor Moon in Japanese and read the mangas and stuff. So I was completely excited when she came to America and the cartoons were dubbed in American English. But they are having a reboot of it, but it's not really a reboot because it's going to be more closer related to the comic book version. And it's supposed to come out, I think, this summer. And if you look at the animation of it, it's a lot more closely related to the comic book version. And I'm so excited about this because I want to see how this is going to look. It looks like the comic book is coming to an animated form. I know that it was kind of like that 15 plus years ago, but it's just such a star power, girl power group, love story involved, always love, and I just love it. And there's a lot of humor in it. I just can't wait to see what this is going to look like. I'm so excited. And the animation is going to be just so decked out, especially with the new tech that we have today. It's just,
And I think reading the article, it says it's celebrating its 20th anniversary. Can you believe it?
Gosh.
20 years. 20 years. But you're right. I think it's going to take more of the comic book look to it. And reportedly, there's 26 episodes premiering in July.
Yeah, I need to hop on that.
Maybe Kaori.
Sailor Moon recap by myself with
an
Wakame.
After show.
With Wakame Take.
Sailor Moon, Crystal, with Kaori and Wakame.
Wakame will be like, that means yes.
That means hell yes. All right, so we're excited about all the TV that's going on right now, but we want to move on to our hate of the week.
Oh, yeah.
And we actually funny thing is, we actually just came across our hate of the week today, I believe it is, as we saw somebody rocking what the hate of the week is, which is vests, and more vests. And we thought it'd be funny to show that even the best looking men, Zac Efron,
oh, he's so hot,
did not look so great in a vest.
I do not like the vest look. I am so sorry. If you are at a wedding and you are a groomsman, that's okay. I get it. If you're going to prom, I get it. But we are in Los Angeles. You wear a t-shirt and a vest. Do you really need to wear an extra layer of clothing when it's piping hot outside. Do you need to wear an extra layer of clothing when you're wearing a button-up farmer shirt with a vest? Vests never look good, ever.
What is it about
I just don't
LA
like them.
men who think a vest makes them look a little more dressed
It
up?
just looks terrible. It does not make you look better. It does not make you look more dressed up. It makes you look like you are trying a little bit too hard.
I know,
It
and
does.
especially the way Zach is doing it. That's like the worst way, I think, to wear it, is where they're wearing just the kind of white tee, the Hanes tee, and then they decided, oh, put this dress or this vest on to make it look dressed up. You could clearly tell the people who are wearing the vest that belongs under a suit, because it has that back kind of fitted notch or whatever, the little, I don't even know what you call it, but it's like a tiny belt that you go around the loop to make it a little bit more fit. And people who actually do the vest all the way up and how the buttons going on and stuff, I don't like it. And you know what, I'm saying people because men and women have worn this.
It never looks good. I'm sorry, it never looks good unless you are at a very, very formal event that calls for it.
And unless you decided, oh, it's hot, and I took the jacket that goes with the vest off. I mean,
Yeah.
would you? I don't get it. Why would
Yeah.
you only walk out with the vest? The vest is there because it goes with the jacket that goes with it, right?
Exactly. And wait, if you are wearing nothing underneath your vest, then there's a double trouble right there, okay?
Then you should probably be at the Rio working for the Chippendales.
Yes.
Is what's happening.
And that is acceptable because you'll be taking it right off. So, so no vest, guys. Please, no vest. Take it from humble me. Actually, wear a vest. Maybe your girlfriend likes it. Props to her because she has more tolerance than I do.
Awesome. So let's move on to the dating question of the week,
Sure.
because this is an interesting one. I think that we've talked about outside of our show, but we wanted to bring it up here. How do you split the holidays
That's really
with your partner, your spouse, your lover, your boyfriend, whoever it is, boyfriend, girlfriend, whoever?
That's really tough. I think it depends on the geography of each corresponding families, but ultimately, you just gotta share. You gotta rotate. One spends Thanksgiving, so the other one gets Christmas, and then next year you just switch it off. I think that's like the best way to do it.
I think so too, unless it's like a holiday. Maybe it's like, I don't know, an anniversary or whatever it is, where you really don't have a say. And I've experienced that before, but where, you know, you kind of just have to be understanding that one family's event has to take precedence over another.
Yeah.
And so John and I try to do that, where this year we went to his parents' place in Canada for almost 2 weeks, but we made sure that we spent the few days before we left with my family. So I know it's kind of like a consolation prize when it comes to doing it that way. You don't actually spend the day of with one or the other. Mm-hmm. I mean, with my family, as opposed to actually spending the day of with his family. But it's a compromise, and you just do it.
Yeah.
And there has to be an understanding.
And if you guys are in like very close proximity of each other's corresponding families, you guys can go do both.
Yeah. Be nice if we could just drive to Canada and do it.
Yeah. Well,
but you know, kind of a
No.
little bit hard. So what do you guys think about that? I mean, how do you typically split your time with your spouse, with your lover, with your boyfriend, girlfriend, whomever? Let us know, because I know it's a difficult subject for many. Other factors may become a little more valid, like religious reasons or whatever. How do you usually do that? What's the compromise? Let us know.
I like
So let's move on to the world of tech, because we wanted to talk about the Comixology app and the news that we heard this week regarding Comixology in-app payments. I believe that at least for the iPhone, if you have the Comixology app, you have to actually exit the app and go onto your desktop. Correct me if I'm wrong, but go onto your desktop, enter Comixology from there, make the purchase, sync it, and then go into the app to read the comic. Is that how it works?
It just makes me not want to use the app.
It's really bizarre that they would make you take that extra step. I mean, that's the beauty of a lot of these. Like, for example, I read a lot of Dark Horse comics, and that's the beauty of Dark Horse, is that you could purchase it within the app, download it, You don't ever have to leave the device, your mobile device or whatever. But this is only for iPhone, so I haven't had this issue. I mean, even with my Comixology app on my Android devices, I'm still able to make that in-app purchase. So what is it about iPhone that you have to do this with your iPhone?
They're probably starting it off with the iPhone because logistically, the iOS is a lot easier to deal with on an engineering scale, so they probably had an easier way of fixing that up and tweaking that first. So it might eventually go to the Android devices. That's what I'm suspecting. Hopefully not. It kind of sucks, that idea of it, but who knows? It might work out and be effective.
Yeah, I'm reading here in the article that it says Amazon has removed in-app purchases on Comixology iOS for the fact that they want to avoid paying the transaction fees.
Yep. That sucks.
No.
Sucks for the user.
Sucks.
Yeah.
Even, I mean, in my field of work, project management, you don't want to have the end user have to make an extra step to benefit from whatever it is we're building for you.
And it's very unappealing for people, for users.
It really is.
To stay tuned to that.
Yeah.
Once that's that extra step, you got to make it easy as possible for your users. Because once it becomes a little complicated, once you got to take that extra step to put in your credit card number or just going to your desktop and then finally doing this, loading in all that crap, you're just like, I don't know if it's worth it.
Screwed.
Yep.
So we'll see. We'll track that because we want to know if the trend is going to go down because of this extra step.
Extra strap. Ooh.
Strap. Let's move on to video game news. And
I wanted to talk about. Let's talk about that too. Let's talk about that. You talk about it.
Gamer foods. Because Corey was wondering, why are we bringing this up? Well, one, we just did a Loot Crate video, and within the Loot Crate, we received this dragon jerky,
which is not weed.
And I thought, which is not weed, even though it's colored really bizarre. One of my good friends is starting this company, Game on Snacks, with all of these various versions of jerky. I wanted to know, okay, because I am not a true gamer. I maybe spend an hour or two a month playing video games. Corey spends a lot more time with that. I want to know, one, as a gamer, do you like the idea that there are foods coming out that are branded for a gamer?
What does that even mean?
What does that mean? Well, the picture that we showed was really interesting, right? Because they're thinking about the convenience of food. They're thinking about you're holding your controller, you're probably holding it with two hands to play a game. You probably don't want to get up because you're so infatuated and intrigued by the game you're playing. So they're trying to make food that is convenient, that will keep you full or less hungry, that will keep you playing your game longer. So jerky is a perfect example. I've seen things like jerky. I've seen things like candy. All of these things that have caffeine or just some flavor to kind of kick you up a notch. But all of these things that are supposed to heighten the gamer so that you stay and sit and play your game longer.
Well,
what do you think?
These Game on Snacks, it's just orange teriyaki, sriracha style, and heat wave. And all they are jerky. We already have that. It's nothing new. If I want to eat something while I'm playing games, chips. If you want to be innovative, I feel that if you want to be like, I want to be playing games while I eat something, you feel like a fat ass when you're there for 8 hours at a time playing a video game. Maybe put a healthy snack in your face. A gamer way to not exercise and eat and game on. Like, put healthier options. I think that's kind of a way to twist it. Because these are nothing out of the ordinary. The only thing that's new is that it is, quote-unquote, Game on Snacks.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like,
that's why I was curious, because there are things that are being put out and branded that are saying, for example, I've seen in the line at Best Buy, Perky Jerky. Which is beef jerky that is supposed to have a little bit of caffeine in it. It's supposed to have whatever.
That's cool too. Because as a gamer, sometimes you get tired, but you just really want to beat the quest. You really want to save at a specific point, you know? So I understand like caffeine foods, but this is like, it's just jerky with a brand, like I don't know.
So why not get the snack that you love, right?
Exactly.
Ruffles chips or whatever it may be.
Ruffles chips.
So I think it's really interesting that they're going this route. I mean, I know there's a lot of kind of niche, I don't even know how to say that word, but there's a lot of smaller populations, gamer population, maybe comic books, whatever you do as a hobby, that these food companies are trying to market and brand their food for. What I think they really should do as a piece of advice is talk to a gamer.
Yeah.
Because here I am asking Kaori what you think, because what is the most convenient to, because I know when I used to play Nintendo with my brother and sister, Slim Jim. That's all we needed. Slim Jim was one snack that we needed to keep going.
Or a healthy TV dinner.
There's stuff you can do.
Or McDonald's food delivery like in Asia.
Now I'm hungry.
Hungry.
So we'll probably see a lot more of that stuff. We will probably see a lot more. And I would expect that the gamers will go and back the food that makes sense, that tastes good, but it makes the most sense for them to be eating while they're playing games.
Caffeine and health. Because if you're sitting on your ass for 8 hours at a time, you need caffeine and health substitutes.
There it is. Take the advice of my friend, the gamer. Okay, so let's move on to actual video game news.
Okay.
Telltale.
So, as we know, I'm a huge Telltale fan. Game of Thrones, a Telltale game series, is coming out supposedly towards the end of this year. If you are a Telltale game fan, such as myself, you know that they have awesome storylines oftentimes, and the way the gameplay works, it's very simple, it's very fun. On the iOS, it's phenomenal. What's interesting is George R.R. Martin, who is the author of Game of Thrones, is his personal assistant is going to help out with Telltale Games' Game of Thrones production.
What do you think about that?
I think that's pretty cool, because that kind of means that George R.R. Martin has their back.
Yes. Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean?
That's true.
Like, he's backing them up in a way. He's like, look, I'm a busy man. I'm busy spoiling it for the TV show. But I back up this game, and obviously the personal assistant must know a lot about it as well. Yeah,
I was thinking that. Like, at first I was like, personal assistant, how much do they actually know? You know what? They know everything. They even know when George R.R. Martin is taking a shit.
That's
so true. They will be able to give these people at least the level of detail that they should know when they're making this game, to extend the continuity of the Game of Thrones world.
And I think it'll be like the kind of the fact that his personal assistant is helping out. The personal assistant probably knows him a lot more, like what he likes to eat, what he's thinking, like those kind of things. You develop that kind of relationship when you are working with someone for an extended amount of period of time. So I think it's a kind of good thing to have a personal assistant's pick his brain. I know it's not George R.R. Martin's, but it's better than none, you know?
Yeah, it's definitely better than none. I think I can't wait to see this game when it comes out, because you will probably lose your mind, considering you are a big Game of Thrones fan.
I hope it doesn't suck, but I'm
and
so excited
Telltale Games fan.
I know a lot of people who are Game of Thrones fans and Telltale Games fans aren't actually excited about it, because they're actually like, well, Telltale Games might fuck it up, whatever. Well, but I'm all for it.
I mean, considering all of the reviews you've done of other Telltale games, I would, if any other company was doing it, I'd be nervous. But the fact that you've told me a lot of great and glowing things about this company, I would think that they're probably the best company to put this franchise in.
They might not be the best, but I'm very happy with that.
Good. Okay. So we'll see. We will see. I'm sure Kaori will be back with her review once this game comes out.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on to, of course, the topic that never runs dry.
It better not run
Zac
dry.
Efron. As you know, Neighbors is out this coming weekend, and Zac has been on this grand press tour. One of the media outlets that he talked to this week is The Hollywood Reporter. He had a really candid conversation with them, talking about substance abuse, talking about his history with High School Musical, and now going into Neighbors and being able to work with the epic comedian Seth Rogen, and kind of how he is turning his life around. What do you think?
I really like that he kind of confesses about, reinvention, addiction, struggle. And he even mentions that fight on Skid Row, that bum fight.
Bum fight.
And there's something so real about Zac Efron. And I think that's part of his charm, because he's not only a good looking guy, he's real. Like he seems, there's something honest about him. And the fact that he confessed up to, I had this issue, that issue, I can be a piece of shit at times. It just makes me like him more.
Yeah, he's so real.
I think this interview was very face-to-face value. It makes you feel like connected to him.
Yeah, it really does. He's being honest. I mean, oftentimes you see a young celebrity and having their publicist right behind them kind of sweeping up all the mess that they're making. But Zac is very real about this, and I think that's why you have to respect him, not because obviously he has... he's made his mistakes in his life, but he is fessing up to those mistakes and saying that I'm not always the greatest person.
Yeah.
And you guys should know that. And I'm working on it. And things like these projects like Neighbors coming out. I mean, you saw, if you follow him on Twitter or Instagram, you've seen that he's been pretty busy. It's a project that he's proud of, that has kept him occupied. Those are the types of things that you need to do to break out of these kind of substance abuse ridden lifestyles that a lot of these young celebrities find themselves in. So Zac, you are a role model. You are not, and he even admits he's not even completely out of that lifestyle. You could easily fall back into that lifestyle, and he's just saying, like, look, I make mistakes, I learn from them, and I figure out how I can move on, try to be the better me.
Yep, exactly. So props to you.
Yes. And I'm going to bring up this picture one more time.
Nice.
Yeah, so we are actually both looking forward to Neighbors.
We will watch it, tent out, camp out, whatever it takes.
We are probably going to camp out on Wednesday at the AMC Burbank 16.
So come find us.
We will be the only ones camping out.
You see two Asians. That's exactly what happened.
Let Zac know that we are super fans waiting for the Neighbors movie to come out, and we will be at the Burbank 16. If he wants to come join us, we can pretend we are bums if he wants to try to fight us.
Bum fight.
Yes, everyone go see this movie. I'm sure it's going to be great. Corey, I think that's going to do it for us for this week. There were a lot of topics. There were a ton of stuff that we actually didn't get to talk about. But that's the beauty of doing these weekly shows, is that some weeks we'll have more news than others. So you guys can find me at Ann Campea on all of the social media channels. Corey, where can they find you?
You can find me right down here, Kaorious. You can find Wakame. She is sleeping. I was trying to grab her, but she's like, I ain't having it right now. You guys keep talking. Find us right there, Kaorious.
And you can find both of us. I'm sorry, I'm looking at her, and she is freaking adorable. You can find both of us at Team Amazing. Let us know any topics that you want us to talk about.
Yeah, please
Let us know your thoughts on any of the top topics we brought up for this week. I'm sure there's a ton of conversation to be had for this week. Until next time, we will see you, and go see Neighbors.